Whatever you do, Ethan said, his green eyes meeting mine with an intensity that made my breath catch, don't fall in love with me. I should have laughed, I should have asked if he was serious. Instead, I stood there in the doorway of what would become our shared dorm room, my duffel bag heavy in my hand, and felt my heart crack just a little. Because the truth was, I was already halfway there. My name is Adrian Tors, and this is the story of how I broke the only rule that mattered, and how it destroyed everything before putting me back together in ways I never imagined possible. The late August heat clung to my skin as I climbed the stairs to the third floor of Whitman Hall. My scholarship to Crestwood University had come through at the last minute, leaving me scrambling for housing. When the residential life office told me there was one spot left, a shared dorm with a senior named Ethan Blackwell, I'd said yes without hesitation. I didn't mention that I'd been watching Ethan from afar for the entire previous semester. He was a photography major with an artist's soul and a reputation for being brilliant but distant. Dark hair that always looked slightly tousled, like he'd just run his fingers through it. Those piercing green eyes that seemed to see through pretense straight to the truth beneath. Tall and lean, with an elegance in the way he moved that made him magnetic without trying. I'd seen him in the campus coffee shop, bent over his laptop editing photos, earbuds in, lost in his own world. I'd watched him at the student art gallery opening, standing alone in front of his exhibition, black and white portraits that captured raw human emotion with devastating clarity. I'd noticed the way he smiled rarely, but when he did, it transformed his entire face. And now I was going to live with him. The door to room 317 was slightly ajar. I knocked anyway, my heart hammering against my ribs. "Come in." His voice was deeper than I'd imagined, with a slight rasp that sent shivers down my spine. I pushed the door open. The room was split down the middle with careful precision. One side was clearly Ethan-S minimalist, organized, with prints of his photography work pinned to the walls. A string of warm Edison bulbs hung above his desk, casting everything in a soft amber glow. His bed was made with crisp white sheets, a navy blue comforter folded at the foot. The other side was empty, waiting for me. Ethan stood by the window, backlit by the afternoon sun. He wore a simple white t-shirt and dark jeans, but somehow made it look effortless. When he turned to face me, I felt the full force of his attention, analytical, measuring, curious. "Adrian," he asked. "Yeah, hi," I tried to sound casual, like my mouth hadn't gone dry. "Thanks for, agreeing to this, I know it's last minute." He studied me for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then something shifted in his gaze, recognition, maybe, or surprise. "We had comparative literature together last spring," he said. "You sat 3 rows behind me, you always asked the questions nobody else thought to ask." My cheeks flushed, he'd noticed me. "I didn't think you'd remember," I admitted. "I remember a lot of things." He crossed his arms, not unkindly, just guarded. "Look, Adrian, before you unpack, we need to talk about some ground rules." "Okay," I set my duffel bag down, giving him my full attention. Ethan walked to his desk, pulled out a piece of paper, and handed it to me. It was a list, typed and printed, numbered 1 through 7. Respect quiet hours 10 p.m., 8 a.m. on weekdays. Clean up after yourself in shared spaces. Ask before borrowing anything. No overnight guests without prior discussion. Split shared expenses 50-50. Communicate openly about issues before they become problems. Don't fall in love with me. I read it twice. The first 6 items were reasonable, standard roommate stuff. The 7th made my stomach flip. "Number 7, I said carefully, are you joking?" Ethan-S expression didn't change. "No. That's a really specific rule." "It's happened before." He turned away, looking out the window at the campus green below. "My last roommate, we started as friends. It got complicated. He wanted something I couldn't give. It ended badly and I lost someone I cared about. I can't do that again." There was pain in his voice, carefully controlled but unmistakable. My heart ached for him even as warning bells rang in my head. "I'm not looking to make things complicated," I said, which was technically true. I wasn't looking to fall for my roommate. It had just happened gradually from a distance. "Good." He faced me again, and this time his eyes held something softer, hope, maybe, or relief. "I think we could be friends, Adrian, real friends, but only if we're both clear about the boundaries." I should have said no. I should have marched straight back to the residential life office and demanded a different room. But something in his voice, the loneliness beneath the certainty, made me stay. Okay, I heard myself say, I agree to your terms. Ethan's shoulders relaxed slightly, he extended his hand. Then welcome home, roommate. When our hands touched, I felt electricity arc between us, sharp, undeniable, dangerous. From the way Ethan's breath hitched, I knew he felt it too. He pulled his hand back quickly. I'll let you unpack, he said, already turning away. I'm going to grab coffee, want anything? I'm good, thanks. He was gone before I could say anything else, the door clicking shut with a finality that felt like prophecy. I looked down at the roommate agreement still clutched in my hand, at rule number 7 written in simple black ink. Don't fall in love with me. Too late, I thought, I'm already falling. The first week passed in a strange dance of proximity and distance. Ethan and I fell into a rhythm quickly. He was a morning person, I was decidedly not. He'd be up at 6, coffee brewing, working on his photography projects while I burrowed deeper into my pillows. By the time I emerged, bleary-eyed and reaching for caffeine, he'd leave a mug out for me, prepared exactly the way I liked it after only 2 days of observation. We'd eat breakfast in companionable silence, him scrolling through photos on his laptop, me working through problem sets for my organic chemistry class. Sometimes he'd turn his screen to show me something, a play of light he'd captured, a moment of unexpected beauty in the mundane. I'd lean in to look, careful not to get too close, and offer my thoughts. The shadows here, I'd say, pointing, they make her look lonely even in a crowd. His eyes would light up. Yes, exactly that, most people don't see it. Those moments felt dangerous, like standing on the edge of a cliff, exhilarated by the height, knowing one step forward would be a fall. Evenings were harder. Ethan would work late at the darkroom sometimes, leaving me alone in our room. I'd try to focus on studying but find myself noticing everything about his space. The books on his shelf, mostly poetry and photography theory, plus a worn copy of Call Me By Your Name that made my heart twist. The postcards pinned above his desk from places I'd never been, the way he folded his clothes with methodical precision. When he came back smelling faintly of chemicals and that cedar cologne he wore, I'd feel my resolve weakening. Good day, I'd ask. Productive? He'd sit on his bed, stretching his long legs out, running those artist's fingers through his dark hair. I'm working on a new series, portraits of people in their most vulnerable moments, not sadness necessarily, just truthfulness. I'd love to see them sometime. Maybe when they're finished, a pause, would you let me photograph you? My breath caught me. You have an interesting face, very expressive, you feel things deeply, it shows in your eyes. The way he looked at me then, analytical but also something more, made heat bloom in my chest. Sure, I managed, if you want. Good, he smiled, one of those rare, transformative smiles that made the room brighter. We'll do it this weekend. By Friday, I'd convinced myself I could handle this. We were becoming friends, good friends, the kind who shared morning coffee and late-night conversations about art and science and the nature of beauty, the kind who could exist in comfortable silence, each doing our own work but together. I could ignore the way my pulse raced when he walked into a room. I could pretend the electricity between us was imaginary. I could follow rule number 7. I was wrong. Saturday afternoon, Ethan set up his camera by the window, adjusting the natural light with reflectors and diffusers. He'd asked me to wear something comfortable, so I'd chosen a simple black Henley and jeans. Sit here, he directed, pointing to the chair he'd positioned. Relax, just be yourself. Easier said than done, with his lens pointed at me. Tell me something true, he said. Circling me, adjusting angles, something you've never told anyone else. That's a tall order for a photography session, I joked, but my voice came out shaky. The best portraits capture truth. I need you to give me something real, Adrian. The way he said my name, soft, almost pleading, undid me. I'm scared, I admitted, the words tumbling out before I could stop them. I'm scared that I'm not smart enough for this university, that my scholarship was a mistake, that everyone's going to realize I don't belong here and I'll disappoint my family who sacrificed everything to give me this chance. Click, the shutter captured that moment of raw vulnerability. I'm scared too, Ethan said quietly, lowering the camera. I'm scared that I'm too damaged to let anyone close, that I'll spend my whole life keeping people at arm's length because I'm terrified of being hurt again. Our eyes met, the room felt charged, oxygen thin. Ethan! Look at me like that, he interrupted. Exactly like that, like you see me, really see me. Click, click, click. I couldn't look away, his eyes were so green, so intense, searching my face for something he couldn't name. You belong here, he said finally, voice rough. Don't ever doubt that. You're brilliant, Adrian, the way your mind works, finding connections others miss, asking the questions that matter. I see it. Everyone sees it. You don't know me that well, I protested weakly. I know enough. He set the camera down, stepped closer, too close. Close enough that I could see the flecks of gold in his green eyes, count his eyelashes, feel the warmth radiating from his body. I know you leave little notes in the books you read, observations, reactions, arguments with the author. I know you hum when you're concentrating, always the same melody. I know you care deeply about people, even strangers, I know. He stopped abruptly, jaw tightening. What? I breathed. I know I should step back right now. But he didn't. Neither did I. The moment stretched between us, taut as a wire, humming with possibility and danger. His gaze dropped to my lips, then back to my eyes. I could feel my heart slamming against my ribs, could see his chest rising and falling with rapid breaths. Rule 7, I whispered. Rule 7, he agreed. His phone buzzed, shattering the spell. Ethan stepped back so quickly he almost stumbled, running a hand through his hair, his tell when he was agitated. I need to, he grabbed his jacket. I forgot I have a meeting with my advisor about my thesis project, I'll be back later. He was gone before I could respond, leaving me sitting in the golden afternoon light, my heart in pieces on the floor. I understood then with devastating clarity what Rule 7 was really about. It wasn't just to protect him from getting hurt again. It was to protect us both from something that felt inevitable, terrifying, and already too late to stop. When I moved in with Ethan, he gave me one rule: don't fall in love with me. But between stolen glances and late-night conversations, I was already tumbling past the point of no return. After our photography session ended with a moment too charged to ignore, Ethan fled, leaving me alone with the undeniable truth that we were both fighting the same losing battle. Ethan didn't come back that night. I tried not to worry, tried to focus on my chemistry textbook, but the words blurred together. By 11 p.m., I was packing our small room, checking my phone every few minutes. No messages, no calls. At midnight, I finally texted, "You okay?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Fine, staying at the darkroom tonight, need to work. My chest tightened, he was avoiding me, avoiding this, whatever this was building between us. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the way he'd looked at me during the photo session, hungry and terrified all at once. The way he'd stepped close, so close, before running. At 2 a.m., I gave up on sleep and went for a walk. The campus was beautiful in the dead of night. Streetlights cast pools of amber on empty pathways. The library glowed in the distance, a beacon for insomniacs and overachievers. I walked without destination, trying to clear my head, trying to figure out how I was going to survive an entire year living with someone I couldn't have. That's when I saw him. Ethan sat alone on a bench by the fountain, his camera beside him, staring up at the stars. Even from a distance, I could see the tension in his shoulders, the way he hunched forward like the weight of the world pressed down on him. I should have turned around, given him space, but my feet carried me forward anyway. Couldn't sleep either, I said softly. He jumped, then relaxed when he saw me. Adrian, what are you doing out here? Looking for you, apparently. I sat down beside him, leaving careful space between us. You want to talk about what happened today? Nothing happened. Ethan. He was quiet for a long moment. Above us, the stars wheeled in their ancient patterns, indifferent to human heartbreak. My last roommate, he finally said. His name was Daniel. We met freshman year. He was my first real friend at Crestwood. My first, he trailed off, jaw working. We were together for almost 2 years. I thought he was it, the one. My heart clenched. What happened? He wanted more than I could give, not physically, emotionally. He wanted me to be someone I'm not, open, easy with affection, ready to build a future together, but he made a frustrated gesture. I'm broken in ways I don't know how to fix. I need space to create, to think, to exist. He needed constant reassurance that I loved him. Eventually, he said loving me was like loving a ghost. I was always disappearing, always just out of reach. That must have hurt, I said quietly. The worst part? Ethan's voice cracked. He was right, I did disappear. I pulled away whenever things felt too intense. I'm still doing it. This afternoon he stopped, shook his head. I've been alone for a year now. It's easier, safer. No one gets hurt if I keep my distance. That's what Rule 7 is really about, I realized. Not protecting you from someone else falling in love, protecting them from you running away. He looked at me then, and in his eyes, I saw such raw pain it stole my breath. I don't want to hurt you, Adrian. You're everything I didn't know I needed. You're brilliant and kind, and you see beauty in the world the way I do. These past 2 weeks have been the best I've felt in months, and that terrifies me because I know how this ends. I get scared, I pull back, and I destroy something good. The fountain bubbled beside us, a steady rhythm in the quiet night. What if you didn't run this time? I asked. What if you stayed? I don't know how. Then learn with me? I turned to face him fully. Ethan, I'm not Daniel. I don't need you to be someone you're not. I don't need constant reassurance or promises about the future. I just need you to be honest with me. When you need space, tell me. When things feel overwhelming, don't disappear, just say it. What if I fail? What if I hurt you anyway? Then you hurt me? I took a shaky breath. But at least we'll have tried. At least we'll have been brave enough to see what this could be. Ethan stared at me like I'd offered him salvation and damnation in the same breath. I can't ask you to take that risk, he whispered. You're not asking, I'm choosing. I reached out slowly, giving him time to pull away, and took his hand. His fingers were cool, long, and elegant, trembling slightly. I'm choosing you, Ethan, even knowing the risks, even knowing you might run, I'm choosing to try. Adrian. I know about Rule 7, I signed the agreement, but I need you to know, my voice broke. I'm already breaking it. I've been breaking it since before I moved in. I've been falling for you for months, and living with you has only made it worse, better, both. So if you want me to move out, I will, but I can't keep pretending I don't feel this. The silence that followed felt eternal. Then Ethan squeezed my hand, his eyes shining with unshed tears. I don't want you to move out, he said hoarsely. He swallowed hard. I want to try. I want to be brave enough to let you in. I'm terrified. I'm probably going to mess this up, but I want to try. The hope that bloomed in my chest was so intense it was painful. Yes. Yeah, he laughed, the sound wet and relieved. God, Adrian, I've been fighting this so hard, but this afternoon when we were so close and you looked at me like that, I knew I couldn't keep lying to myself. What were you feeling? I asked softly. His thumb traced patterns on the back of my hand. Like I was standing on the edge of something vast and terrifying, like jumping would either destroy me or teach me to fly. And now, Ethan met my eyes, and in them I saw vulnerability and courage warring with fear. Now I'm choosing to jump. He leaned in slowly, giving me every chance to pull back. Our foreheads touched first, breath mingling in the small space between us. I could smell his cedar cologne, could feel the warmth of his skin, could hear the rapid beating of his heart matching my own. Can I kiss you? He whispered. Please. Our lips met softly, tentatively, like a question being asked and answered. He tasted like coffee and mint and possibility. The kiss was gentle, searching, full of all the longing we'd both been fighting. When we finally pulled back, we were both breathing hard, both smiling like idiots. I started. Worth breaking Rule 7 for, Ethan finished. We sat there by the fountain, hands intertwined, as the night slowly gave way to dawn. And for the first time since moving in, I felt like maybe, just maybe, everything was going to be okay. The next few weeks were both blissful and terrifying. Ethan and I didn't label what we were. Boyfriends felt too simple, too inadequate for the complexity of what we'd become. We were roommates who were falling in love, artists who inspired each other, friends learning to be something more. The physical aspect came slowly, carefully. Stolen kisses when one of us got back to the room. His hand finding mine under the table at the campus coffee shop. Falling asleep in his bed during movie nights, his arm around my shoulders, my head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. But the real intimacy was emotional. Ethan started opening up in ways that clearly terrified him. He'd tell me when he was feeling overwhelmed, when he needed to be alone with his photography. Instead of disappearing, he'd say, I need a few hours to myself. Can we have dinner together later? And I learned to not take it personally, to trust that needing space didn't mean pulling away forever. I opened up too, about my imposter syndrome, my fear of failure, my complicated relationship with my parents who loved me but struggled to understand my sexuality. Ethan listened without judgment, offered comfort without trying to fix everything. You don't have to be perfect, he told me one night, both of us sitting cross-legged on his bed, papers and chemistry notes scattered around us. You just have to be real. Same goes for you, I said. Stop expecting yourself to never mess up. Stop punishing yourself for needing things. You're allowed to be human, Ethan. He kissed me then, soft and sweet, like I'd given him permission to exist fully. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. 3 weeks into our undefined relationship, I made the mistake of using the L word. We were cooking dinner together in the dormitory's shared kitchen, pasta because neither of us could afford anything fancy. Ethan was wearing that navy sweater I loved, the one that made his eyes impossibly green. He was laughing at something I'd said, his whole face bright with joy, and the words just slipped out. God, I love you. The laughter died. Ethan froze, wooden spoon halfway to the pot, his expression shuddering like blinds slamming down. Adrian. I'm sorry, I said quickly. I didn't mean, I wasn't trying to pressure you, it just came out. He set down the spoon carefully, too carefully, I need some air. And just like that, he was gone, leaving me alone in the kitchen with half-cooked pasta and a sinking feeling in my stomach. He didn't come back that night. I lay in my own bed, hadn't slept in it in weeks, staring at his empty one across the room, fighting panic. This was it. This was the moment he ran for good. I'd pushed too hard, said too much, scared him away just like Daniel had. By morning, I'd convinced myself I'd ruined everything. Then the door opened. Ethan looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes, his hair disheveled. He held 2 coffee cups from our favorite campus cafe. Can we talk? He asked quietly. I nodded, not trusting my voice. He sat on my bed, a deliberate choice I realized, coming to me instead of retreating to his space. He handed me a coffee, wrapped both hands around his own. I'm sorry I left, he began. That's exactly what I said I wouldn't do, but when you said that, I panicked, because, he took a shaky breath, because I feel it too, and that's terrifying. My heart, which had been clenched tight with fear, started to loosen. You don't have to say it back, I told him. I wasn't expecting. I want to? He looked up, his green eyes fierce and afraid all at once. I want to be able to say it without running away. I want to be someone who can receive love without treating it like a threat. But I'm not there yet, Adrian. I'm trying, but I'm not there. That's okay. Is it? His voice broke. Is it really? Because you deserve someone who can say it back without hesitation, someone who doesn't shut down at the first sign of real vulnerability, someone who... Stop, I set down my coffee, took his hands in mine. Stop telling me what I deserve, I get to decide that, and I'm deciding you're worth waiting for. Tears spilled down his cheeks. Why? Because you're trying, because you came back, because you're sitting here, scared out of your mind, choosing to be honest instead of running. That's what matters, Ethan, not some perfect declaration of love. This, you right now being real with me, this is everything. He kissed me then, desperate and grateful, tasting like salt and coffee and hope. I'm going to mess this up again, he whispered against my lips. Probably I will too, we're human. I pulled back just enough to see his face. But we'll figure it out together, that's the deal. Together, he echoed, like the word was foreign but beautiful. We spent that day in our room, no classes, no obligations, just us. We talked about his past, about Daniel, about the ways he'd been hurt and learned to protect himself. We talked about my fears too, about growing up closeted, about the weight of expectations I carried. And slowly, carefully, we built something stronger than before, not perfect but real. November came with cold rain and the looming deadline of Ethan's senior thesis exhibition. He'd been working obsessively on his portrait series, Vulnerability in Truth, he called it. He'd photographed dozens of people, capturing them in moments of raw honesty, but the centerpiece, he told me, would be the photos of me from that first session. I want to show them, he said one evening, nervous energy radiating from him, but only if you're comfortable with it. There. Intimate, not physically but emotionally. Anyone who sees them will know I care about you. Are you ready for people to know? I asked. He considered this seriously. I'm tired of hiding from others, from myself. Yes, I'm ready. The exhibition opening was packed. The campus art gallery hummed with students, faculty, and local art enthusiasts. Ethan stood near the entrance, looking gorgeous in all black, his hair finally tamed, accepting congratulations with shy smiles. I wandered through the exhibition, taking in each portrait. He'd captured something profound in every face: a war veteran's grief, a transgender student's quiet pride, an elderly professor's wisdom and regret. Each photograph told a story stripped bare of pretense. Then I found myself. The portraits took up an entire wall, 6 large prints, each capturing a different aspect of me. In one I was laughing, head thrown back, joy unguarded. In another I looked pensive, vulnerable, beautiful in my uncertainty. But the central image, the largest one, was from that moment when I'd confessed my fears. My eyes were honest, pleading, hopeful. You could see everything I felt for the photographer in that gaze. Beneath the series, a placard read, "Adrian, a study in seeing and being seen." Sometimes we don't know what we're looking for until someone looks back with the same intensity. These portraits capture the moment I realized I'd stopped hiding from my subject, from vulnerability, from the possibility of love. My breath caught. People clustered around the images, murmuring appreciatively, but I couldn't hear them over the roaring in my ears. Ethan had done it. He'd put his heart on display for everyone to see. I found him by the drinks table talking to his thesis advisor. When he saw me, his expression turned anxious. "Can we go outside?" I asked, "just for a minute." We stepped into the crisp November night, gallery lights spilling through the windows behind us. "The photos," I started. "Too much," he looked terrified. "I can take them down if—" "They're perfect," I interrupted. "Ethan, they're perfect, and the description, that's the closest you've come to saying 'I love you.'" The words hung between us, crystalline and real. "I love you," he repeated, stronger this time. "I'm scared, and I'm probably always going to need more space than most people. And I'm going to have moments where I struggle with this. But I love you, Adrian Torres. You make me want to be braver. You make me believe I can be the kind of person who stays." Tears streamed down my face, happy tears, overwhelming tears. "I love you too," I managed, "so much it terrifies me." "Good," he cupped my face in his hands, thumbs wiping away tears. "Let's be terrified together." He kissed me there, under the stars, outside his exhibition where his truth hung on the walls for everyone to see, and it felt like freedom. Daniel came back 2 weeks before finals. I didn't know who he was at first, just saw a tall, broad-shouldered guy with sandy blonde hair waiting outside our dorm room when I got back from chemistry lab. He looked like he belonged on a sports team, confident, conventionally attractive, everything I wasn't. "Can I help you?" I asked. His eyes, blue, sharp, assessed me with uncomfortable intensity. "You must be Adrian. I'm Daniel, Ethan's ex." My stomach dropped. "He's not here," I said carefully. "He's at the darkroom." "I know, I wanted to talk to you first." This couldn't be good, but I unlocked the door anyway, gestured him inside. We stood on opposite sides of the room, the tension thick enough to cut. "I saw his exhibition," Daniel said. "The photos of you, the description, everyone's talking about it, about how Ethan finally opened up, how he's different now." His voice held an edge I couldn't quite identify. "What did you do that I couldn't?" "I didn't do anything," I said honestly. "Ethan did the work himself." "Bullshit." Daniel stepped closer and I instinctively backed up. "I spent 2 years trying to get him to let me in, 2 years of being patient, understanding, giving him space. And he still pushed me away. Then you show up and in 3 months he's suddenly capable of love." "Maybe it wasn't about capability," I said quietly. "Maybe it was about timing, about him being ready. Or maybe," Daniel's expression twisted with hurt and anger, "maybe I just wasn't enough for him to try for." The pain in his voice was raw, real. Despite my discomfort, I felt sympathy for him. "I'm sorry you were hurt," I said. "I really am, but Ethan and I—" "Do you know what it's like?" Daniel interrupted. "Loving someone who disappears every time things get real, who makes you feel crazy for needing reassurance, who looks at you sometimes like you're suffocating them just by existing." "Yes," I admitted, "I do know. He's done all of that with me too." That seemed to surprise him. Then why are you still here? Because he keeps coming back, because he tells me when he's struggling instead of just vanishing, because we're learning how to do this together, mess-ups and all. Daniel laughed bitterly. Give it time, he'll revert. When things get too intense, when the pressure builds, he'll run. It's what he does. And you'll be left wondering what you did wrong, replaying every conversation, trying to figure out how to love someone who's terrified of being loved. That's not. The door opened. Ethan stood in the doorway, his face going pale when he saw Daniel. What are you doing here? He asked, voice tight. Visiting an old friend. Daniel's smile didn't reach his eyes. Congratulations on the exhibition, it was beautiful. I guess you finally figured out how to be what someone needs. The barb hit its mark. Ethan flinched. Daniel, that's not fair, I started. Fair? Daniel's control finally cracked. Nothing about this is fair. I gave you everything, Ethan, everything I had, and it wasn't enough. But 3 months with him and suddenly you're capable of love, of vulnerability, of staying. I'm sorry, Ethan said, and his voice was thick with regret. Daniel, I'm so sorry I hurt you, but I can't. Can't what? Fix it, take it back. Actually give me a real explanation for why I wasn't worth trying for. The silence that followed was devastating. I should go, I said quietly. No, Ethan's voice was firm. Daniel, I know I hurt you, I know I have a lot to answer for, but Adrian doesn't deserve to be in the middle of this. If you want to talk, we can do it somewhere else. There's nothing left to say. Daniel headed for the door, paused. Just remember, when he runs, and he will run, it's not your fault, he's just too broken to stay. He left, the door slamming behind him with finality. Ethan stood frozen, staring at the closed door, his breathing shallow and rapid. Hey, I said softly, approaching carefully, look at me. He did, and the anguish in his eyes broke my heart. He's right, Ethan whispered. I destroyed him. I took his love and twisted it into something painful because I couldn't get out of my own way, and I'm going to do the same thing to you. That's not true. Isn't it? He pulled away from my touch. Adrian, I'm going to hurt you, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually it's what I do. Daniel knew it, you should too. Fear bloomed in my chest, but I pushed through it. You know what the difference is between me and Daniel? I asked. I knew from the beginning that this wouldn't be easy. You literally gave me a rule warning me. I went in with my eyes open, choosing you anyway, not the perfect version you think you need to be, you with all the complications and struggles. That doesn't make it okay that I'm like this, he said, voice breaking. No, but it means I'm not going to be blindsided when things get hard. We'll deal with it together. What if I can't? What if I wake up one day and the panic is too much and Then you tell me, you don't just disappear, you say, Adrian, I'm struggling, and we figure it out. I took his hand, held on tight. That's the only promise I need, not perfection, just honesty. Ethan crumpled, pulling me into a fierce embrace, his face buried against my neck. I don't want to lose you, he said into my skin. Then don't push me away. We stood there for a long time, holding each other, both scared but choosing each other anyway. Finals week arrived like a storm. The pressure was intense for both of us, me with organic chemistry and advanced calculus, Ethan with his thesis defense and senior portfolio review. We were both running on coffee and panic, sleeping 4 hours a night, snapping at each other over little things. The stress revealed cracks we'd been papering over. Ethan started pulling away again, subtle at first. He'd study at the library instead of in our room. He'd come back late, exhausted, falling into his own bed instead of mine. When I asked if he was okay, he'd say he was fine, just busy. I recognized the pattern, he was starting to run. We should talk, I said one night, catching him as he tried to slip out for another late library session. I have 2 exams tomorrow, Adrian, can this wait? No, because you're doing the thing you do, pulling back, creating distance, shutting me out. His jaw tightened. I'm not shutting you out, I'm trying to pass my classes. We used to study together, now you can't seem to be in the same room with me. Because, he exploded, all his stress and fear coming out at once. Because being around you makes me want to forget about everything else. Because when I'm with you I want to just exist in this bubble where nothing else matters, and I can't afford that right now. My entire future depends on these next 2 weeks. So you're just going to avoid me until finals are over. Maybe that's what I need. The words hung between us, sharp and painful. Fine, I said, fighting back tears. Do what you need to do. I grabbed my bag, my notes, and left. Spent the night in the library's 24-hour study room, surrounded by other stressed students trying to focus on chemistry while my heart broke. Daniel's words echoed in my head. When he runs and he will run, it's not your fault, he's just too broken to stay. Was I fighting for something that was doomed from the start? My organic chemistry exam was brutal. 3 hours of questions that blurred together, formulas that slipped from my exhausted brain. By the time I stumbled out, I was too drained to feel anything. My phone buzzed, a text from Ethan, "Where are you?" "Just finished my exam, at the chemistry building. Can I come to you?" I almost said no, almost told him I needed space too, but something in my chest, the stubborn, hopeful part that still believed in us, made me respond, "Yeah." He showed up 15 minutes later looking as wrecked as I felt. Dark circles under his eyes, his hair a mess, his shirt wrinkled like he'd slept in it. "I'm sorry," he said immediately. "Adrian, I'm so sorry, you were right, I was running." "I know. Last night after you left, I sat in our room alone and realized I was doing exactly what I swore I wouldn't do. Pushing you away because things felt overwhelming. Using stress as an excuse to revert to old patterns." I waited, giving him space to continue. "I went to see my therapist this morning," he said. "Emergency session. We talked about all of this, about how I sabotage things when I'm scared, about how I need to develop better coping mechanisms than just shutting people out." "That's good," I said carefully, "that you're working on it." "She helped me realize something." He stepped closer, his green eyes intense and earnest. "My fear of hurting you is actually causing the very thing I'm afraid of. By pulling away to protect you from my mess, I'm hurting you anyway, and that's not fair, you deserve better." "I don't want better," I said, my voice cracking. "I want you, but I need you to actually let me in, Ethan, not just when things are easy but especially when they're hard." "I know, and I'm trying, but I need you to understand this is going to be a process. I'm going to mess up again, maybe not this same way but in other ways. My therapist says I need to be upfront about that." "Okay," I said, "then let's make a new agreement." I pulled out my phone, opened a new note and started typing. Ethan watched over my shoulder as I wrote. "We commit to honest communication, especially when struggling. When one person needs space, they say so explicitly, no disappearing. We attend therapy individually or together to work on our stuff. We give each other permission to call out patterns we see developing. We remember that mess-ups are part of the process, not the end. We choose each other again and again, even when it's hard. We replace Rule 7 with a new rule: try to stay." I looked up at him. "What do you think?" Ethan read it twice, then a third time. His eyes were wet when he finally met my gaze. "Try to stay," he repeated softly, "not definitely stay or stay perfectly, just try. Because that's all we can really promise," I said, "to keep trying." He pulled me into his arms, holding me like I was precious, like I was home. "I'm going to try," he whispered into my hair. "I'm going to mess up, but I'm going to try because you're worth it, we're worth it." "We really are," I agreed. We stayed like that for a long time, two broken people choosing to be broken together, choosing to heal together, choosing to try. Spring arrived with cherry blossoms and new beginnings. Ethan and I had made it through finals, both of us passing, him graduating with honors, his photography portfolio earning acclaim. He'd been accepted to a prestigious MFA program but deferred for a year to work and figure things out. We moved into a small apartment off campus for my sophomore year. Bigger than the dorm room, with space for both of us to breathe, to create, to exist separately and together. It wasn't perfect. There were days when Ethan's anxiety spiked and he needed to retreat to his darkroom for hours. Days when my imposter syndrome convinced me I didn't deserve him and I'd get distant and prickly. Days when we fought about stupid things, dishes, schedules, whose turn it was to grocery shop, because the real issue was too scary to name. But we kept our agreement. "I'm struggling today," Ethan would say. "I need some alone time, but I'll be back for dinner." "Okay," I'd respond, "I'll be here." "I'm feeling insecure," I'd admit, "like I'm not enough." "You are," he'd insist, holding me close. "You're everything." We went to couples therapy once a month, not because we were falling apart, but because we wanted to keep building something strong. We learned each other's languages, triggers, patterns. We learned how to fight fair, how to apologize effectively, how to celebrate small victories. One Saturday morning in April, I woke to find Ethan already up, camera in hand, taking photos of me sleeping. Creep, I mumbled, smiling. Artist, he corrected, grinning. He set the camera down, climbed back into bed beside me. I'm working on a new series, A Year of Staying. What's it about? Us, the everyday moments that make a relationship real, not the grand gestures or perfect Instagram moments, just the choice to keep showing up. I rolled toward him, studying his face in the morning light. He looked different than he had 9 months ago, softer somehow, more at peace. Are you happy? I asked. He considered the question seriously. Happy feels too simple for what I am. I'm content, challenged, scared sometimes, but also more myself than I've ever been. You make me brave enough to be real. You do the same for me. He kissed me then, slow and sweet, like we had all the time in the world. I love you, he said against my lips. I know I don't say it enough, but I do, every day, even the hard ones, especially the hard ones. I love you too, I pulled back just enough to see his eyes. Thanks for staying. Thanks for making it worth staying for. The exhibition was called The Art of Staying. Ethan's photographs filled the gallery, portraits of couples, families, friends who'd chosen each other through difficulty. But the centerpiece was his series about us. A year's worth of moments, me studying at our kitchen table surrounded by papers, him in his darkroom, face illuminated by red light, us cooking dinner together, laughing at some shared joke, morning coffee on our tiny balcony, fighting, making up, holding each other through hard days. The final image was from yesterday. We're standing in front of our apartment building, his arm around my waist, my hand over his heart. We're both looking at the camera, at him, at his timer, and we're both smiling. Not perfectly, not posed, just real. The placard beneath reads, Adrian and Ethan, a study in choosing. Rule 7 said don't fall in love. We broke it spectacularly. What we learned, love isn't about never struggling. It's about choosing to stay through the struggle. It's about trying, failing, forgiving, and trying again. It's about replacing don't fall with catch each other. This series documents 1 year of learning how to do exactly that. I stood beside him at the opening, our hands intertwined, watching people engage with our story. No regrets, he asked quietly. Not one, I said honestly. You. Only that I wasted time fighting it instead of just jumping sooner. We got here eventually, that's what matters. Daniel was there, surprisingly. He approached us near the end of the night, looking uncomfortable but determined. These are beautiful, he told Ethan. I'm genuinely happy for you, both of you. Thank you, Ethan said, that means a lot. I'm sorry for showing up that day and... You were hurt, I hurt you, you had every right to be angry. Ethan took a breath. I'm sorry I couldn't be what you needed, but I'm grateful you helped me realize I needed to change. Daniel nodded, something easing in his expression. You seem good, really good, different. I am, we both are, Ethan squeezed my hand, we're learning. After Daniel left, after the crowds dispersed and the gallery lights dimmed, Ethan and I walked home through the spring night. Cherry blossoms drifted through the air like snow, landing in his dark hair, catching in the streetlights. Hey, I said, remember that roommate agreement you made me sign? The one with Rule 7 that we immediately violated. That's the one, I think we should amend it. I pulled out my phone, opened our relationship agreement, added a new item. 8. We celebrate every anniversary of breaking Rule 7, because some rules are meant to be broken. Ethan read it, laughed, that full, genuine laugh I'd fallen in love with, and kissed me right there on the sidewalk, cherry blossoms falling around us like blessings. Best rule I never followed, he murmured. Best choice I ever made, I agreed. We walked the rest of the way home hand in hand, two people who'd learned that the bravest thing you can do is stay for yourself, for each other, for love. The rule said don't fall. We fell anyway. And we caught each other.